Have you ever opened a company's financial report and just felt your eyes glaze over? All those numbers. It can feel like a totally different language. Well, today, we're going to be your translator. We're going to decode the financial journey of a real company, AMD Industries, and show you how to find the incredible story that's hiding in the data. So, seriously, what kind of story can a bunch of numbers on a page really tell? A lot more than you'd think. We're talking about big wins, painful setbacks, and plot twists you won't see coming. It's basically a company's diary written in numbers, and today, you're going to learn how to read it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll cut through the jargon and look at the three numbers that really matter. Then, we'll meet our company for today, AMD Industries. After that, we'll dive into their story, jump to the present day to see where they are now, and then wrap it all up with the big takeaways. Ready? Let's do it. All right, first things first, let's meet the main characters in any financial story. Forget the complicated stuff for now. We're going to focus on just three key numbers. Get these and you've got 90% of the story. The first one is revenue from operations. This is the big number at the very top. It's all the money a company brings in from doing what it does best, selling its stuff. The easiest way to think about it, it's the grand total in the cash register before a single bill gets paid. Okay, so if revenue is all the money coming in, our next number, expenses, is all the money going out. This is what it costs to keep the lights on and run the business. We're talking materials, employee salaries, rent, marketing, you name it. It's the total of every single bill the company has to pay. And that brings us to the grand finale, the bottom line, profit or loss. The math here is super simple. It's just revenue minus expenses. If the number is positive, that's a profit. If it's negative, that's a loss. This is the ultimate scorecard for how the company did. Now, let's see how these numbers actually work in the real world. Okay, theory time is over. Let's put this knowledge to the test. We're going to dig into the actual financial reports of a company called AMD Industries Limited. So, what does AMD Industries actually do? They make packaging. Boxes, containers, that sort of thing. And this is really important because it grounds all these big numbers in reality. Every rupee we're about to see is tied to them actually making and selling this stuff. We're going to rewind the clock a bit and start our story back in 2018, following the numbers through to 2020. And trust me, you'll want to buckle up because their financial journey during this time was a total roller coaster. We're going to zoom in on three key moments that tell a really fascinating story. It all starts in early 2018, when things are looking great. Then, just a few months later, everything takes a sudden nosedive. And we'll end this chapter at the end of 2020 with a twist you probably won't see coming. And our story begins, Q1 2018. Take a look. Revenue is a really strong 537 million rupees. Expenses are at 514 million. Now see that nice little gap between the two bars where revenue is higher? That's the sweet spot. That's the sign of a healthy business. And that gap translates into a very tidy profit of over 26 million rupees, a fantastic way to start the year. The company is making money, things are efficient. But, as you're about to see, the good times, they didn't last. Okay, now let's jump forward just 2 quarters to Q3 2018. And whoa, look what happened. Revenue has plunged all the way down to 246 million. But the even bigger story here is that the expense bar is now taller than the revenue bar. They spent more money than they made. The result? A painful 36 million rupee loss. I mean, think about that. In just 6 months, the company's fortunes completely reversed. Welcome to the first big drop on our financial roller coaster. Now we're going to jump ahead again, this time to the end of 2020. Now on the surface, this looks a little weird. Revenue is way back up to a strong 521 million rupees, almost at those early 2018 levels. But wait a minute, look at the expenses. They're even higher at 565 million. So based on what we've learned, this has to be another big loss, right? Well, not so fast. Here comes the plot twist. The story doesn't always end with just revenue and expenses. See, this quarter, AMD had a wild card, nearly 48 million rupees in something called exceptional items, plus a tax credit. Just think of these as one-time financial events, stuff that's not part of the normal day-to-day business that can completely flip the script. And because of those one-time items, even though they spent more than they earned from their main business, the company actually posted a profit of over 6 million rupees. It's a brilliant example of how you have to look beyond just those top two numbers to get the real story. Sometimes the most important details are hidden in the fine print. Okay, that was the past. Now let's hit the fast forward button to 2024 and see what the most recent chapter of AMD Industries' story looks like. First, let's just check in on revenue. Back where our story started in 2018, it was about 537 million. In the second quarter of 2024, it was about 539 million. So over 6 years, the amount of money coming in the front door has stayed remarkably flat. Pretty stable. But what about the expenses? Well, it's a familiar story, isn't it? In Q2 2024, those costs are once again higher than the revenue. The company is spending more to run the business than it's making from its core operations. And this time, with no major exceptional items to come in and save the day, the bottom line is an 11 million rupee loss for the quarter. It just goes to show you, the roller coaster ride is still going, and that constant battle between making money and controlling costs is still very, very real for this business. So, after our trip through AMD Industries financials, from the highs to the lows to the weird twists and turns and the snapshot of today, what's the big takeaway? What has this story in numbers actually taught us? Here's what you should really take away from all this. First, a company's financial health can change fast. It can swing wildly from one quarter to the next. Second, huge revenue numbers are great, but they don't guarantee a profit. The real story is always in the tug of war between revenue and expenses. Third, always look for those special items. They can totally change the outcome. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, a financial report isn't just a spreadsheet. It's a chapter in a much bigger, ongoing story of a company. So, now you've got the tools. You know how to read the numbers and find the narrative. You've seen the trends and the challenges for AMD Industries. So, I'll leave you with a question. Now that you can read the story so far, what do these numbers tell you about what's going to happen next?